All right, we finally got some MLB games and stats in the books, and naturally, it's not all good for your fantasy team. With just one weekend of action down, normally I'd say, look, there's a long way to go. There's no need to panic about any player, no matter how bad they did, but that's not the case for a few of these guys. So let's dive into it. Let me tell you who you should be worried about and what level. The first pick here is pretty obvious. Look, I'm not going to talk about a lot of hitters because anybody can have a bad series, bad couple of days. We have to be patient. But we've got to address Rafael Devers because he went beyond bad in his first few games. It was historically bad. And it was already bad after just his first 3 games where he went 0 for 12 with 10 strikeouts. And then Sunday did not change things. Now he stands at 0 for 16 with 12 strikeouts. Now, this is one of the best pure hitters in the game, still in his prime on a great team. I mean, I would like to be able to say to all of you who have Devers, just relax, be patient. Hey, maybe this is a buy low opportunity. But there's more to that, and you should already know this. Before the season started, I already said I'm dropping him down a couple of spots in my rankings. I feel like I should have dropped him more. You don't want to overreact to certain things you hear in the preseason, but now wondering if we were underreacting because there's a lot of stuff going on here. Moving off of third base because of Alex Bregman, and oh, it's not because of your defense. No, it's just because we want to keep you healthy. Yeah. So Devers wasn't happy about that, but whatever. He'll deal with it. But a lot of that overshadowed the fact that remember, the shoulders were still bothering him, so he did not have a normal spring just in terms of game action. In fact, he only saw 15 plate appearances in spring training. And from those plate appearances, it wasn't good either. 5 strikeouts out of 15 times and a 214 average. No home runs. So we've got some physical issues going on that who knows if his shoulders are really 100% or not. I mean, obviously good enough for him to DH, but not to play third base. And then there's the fact he might be unhappy. Reportedly, he was ready to ask for a trade until they kind of smooth things over. But are they smooth? Now, if we want to get analytical here, which we can thanks to StatCast, look at his bat speed so far in the first 4 games of the season. It's down by 3 miles per hour compared to last season, and it's in the lower half of the league where usually it's in the upper half. So again, we have to go back to it's early. It's just been not even a week, and so surely he can turn things around, but you've got to be concerned because there's so much going on here, and maybe he is not fully healthy and or fully happy. So let me just say this. Right now, I'm going to set the panic meter at about a 7.5. But with that said, he should get a hit eventually. What I hope we don't see is that all of a sudden he just hits the IL. But we can't rule that out either. It is very possible, but let's hope for the best. Let's try to remain calm here. There's not much else you can do really if you have Devers. So hold tight. Hope that eventually he works things out. But don't be surprised if he does continue his slow start. Now, as far as pitchers go, well, most guys have only made 1 start. And again, you don't want to overreact to 1 bad start, especially if it was opening day or some sort of situation where a guy and maybe face a tough lineup, whatever, etc. Okay, so we've seen now Roki Sasaki twice. The first time we can excuse it. Maybe it was nerves. First time pitching in the majors, right? In Japan, the pressure, all of that. What about the second time? His last start against the Tigers, 1 2/3 innings. He gave up 2 runs and 3 hits, but 4 walks. And honestly, it could have been worse because he was all over the place. And that makes now 9 walks in a total of 4 2/3 innings. I was very down on Sasaki for fantasy, but mainly it's because I was worried about the inning totals, right? How much would he pitch? There's some risk here based on his past. I didn't think that he would just be a complete mess all over the place with his control. This is when we actually have to remind ourselves this isn't just a normal international pitcher coming over from Japan who's experienced like a Yoshinobu Yamamoto. This is a prospect, a very young pitcher. He's only 23 years old, and he has pretty limited experience because he's had some health issues. So this is still very much a work in progress, and that's what we've seen. So surely he will get better, but how much better? I can't say I'm not worried because I was already worried to begin with. Right now, I'm setting the panic meter at an 8. Now, I do think that he'll have better moments, but I'm concerned whether he'll even come close to delivering a return on investment based on wherever you drafted him, because surely he was in the top 100 in most leagues. My advice here, if you've got Sasaki, let's wait and see if he turns in a good outing, maybe has one of those dazzling performances where he racks up a lot of strikeouts, and then try to flip him. And now after this weekend, we could rightfully just put the entire Brewers pitching staff, maybe just the entire Brewers team after the way the Yankees made them look. We won't go that far because maybe it's just this barrel thing. Look, they got toasted by the Yankees. Okay, that will happen. But we've got to look at Nestor Cortez because, again, this is one pitcher who was especially bad and also historically bad. Like, okay, I get it. The Yankees can hit a lot of home runs and they'll do that. But Nestor Cortez managed to somehow give up 5 home runs and walk 5 batters in just 2 innings. Now, Cortez wasn't even drafted in a lot of leagues because after his amazing year as a Yankee a couple years ago, wasn't doing anything really great last year. So here he comes, and his former team makes him look like his career should be over. All right, so that's an overreaction, and not just because of the Yankees. Let's look at Cortez last year. He actually wasn't that bad. In fact, control is kind of his thing. He only had a 5.5% walk rate last year, and his barrel rate was in the 65th percentile. Not amazing, but again, upper half. He doesn't get rocked too often. I'll chalk this up to first start of the year, ran into a crazy hot team and a player like Aaron Judge, who is otherworldly at this point. Cortez is not the most exciting pitcher for fantasy, but I don't think he's done either. He will deliver some value. I think this year it's really mostly going to be as a streamer, and that's how he's being treated anyways. So I'm not just going to completely give up on him for the rest of this year based on this start. So let's set the panic meter at a 5. You're probably not too panicked anyways, because even if you did have him on your team and did start him, you weren't expecting that much anyways. Now, there are some closers who've seen multiple opportunities and have already shown that they don't deserve that job. And of course, I'm talking first and foremost about David Bednar of the Pirates. Look, this is an easy one. If you heard anything I talked about this whole offseason, I was completely out on Bednar. I honestly think he's only A, being drafted in fantasy or owned, and B, still the closer for Pittsburgh because of reputation, because of his past a couple of years ago. If you look at anything he did last year, you would know he's not an effective pitcher at this point, and he continued to prove that in the spring. He tried to show the Pirates, hey, I'm not the guy, and now he's doing it in the regular season. And last year, a 5.77 ERA, a 1.42 whip. This spring, he gave up 10 runs and 11 hits in just 8 innings. And so what happened now, his first weekend of the Major League season, he's given up at least 1 run in 3 straight appearances. And mind you, this was against the Marlins. Yeah, he let the Marlins have a walk-off win because of a wild pitch. Bednar has no idea where the strike zone is. I don't know why anybody is continuing to have confidence in him. It's only a matter of time before the Pirates have to remove him from that role. And really, they only haven't because they have nobody else worthy of being a closer. I mean, I guess at this point, it's got to be Justin Lawrence, and I don't really want to be in on him, but I'm completely out on Bednar. You want to know the panic level on him? It's 11. And yes, this is out of a 10-point scale. Now, what about Jordan Romano, who's in the Phillies now? His first chance of the season did not go well. He blew a save, giving up 2 runs to the Nats. Now, on the one hand, it is encouraging that he got that opportunity, but of course, blowing it immediately is not a good thing. And we had to know going into the season he was already going to be kind of a short leash guy because they've got Jose Alvarado, who's a very good option. They've got Orion Kirkering, who still feels like a closer in waiting. They've got good options. This is a team that does not need to wait and see. They want to win a World Series. But I'm going to cool it on Romano because, again, this was just one bad outing, his first as a Philly, and he has looked good this spring. I think he still has the stuff if he's healthy, which he is. That led to a lot of his problems last year. On the other hand, I'm not going to say that there isn't a chance he's completely done. He might be, so let's set the panic meter at a 6 for Romano. I'm probably going to keep him on my bench, not cut him just yet if I have him, but I'm going to definitely make some contingency plans. I do want to mention one other starter, yet just one start this year, but there were already doubts about Tanner Houck based on the way he ended last year. Now, throughout the first half, he was excellent. Really, one of the better pitchers for fantasy, one of the best waiver wire pickups there was, but the second half was a different story. The main issue with him is, of course, the ratios rose, but the strikeouts just completely fell off. He went from about a K per inning to not even close to that. Had a bad spring as well, and then now his first start, I mean, it wasn't horrible, but it definitely wasn't good either. Gave up 4 runs in 5 2/3 innings. But again, let me zero in on the fact that the strikeouts just were not there. Despite not being especially effective, he at least lasted 5 2/3 innings, but only 2 strikeouts. And digging into it, this is a trend. It wasn't just the second half, but really over the last couple of years, as he has actually improved his control and been more effective, but he's sacrificing the strikeouts. So you got to wonder, is he fantasy relevant at this point? Barely. I'm going to wait before fully passing judgment on Hauk, but I'm going to also say, look, this is a guy who wasn't necessarily drafted everywhere. If so, it was a very late round pick, so the expectations weren't super high. Let's set the panic meter at a 5 for him. Let's wait and see how he looks his next couple of starts. And if there really isn't any improvement, we can probably forget about him. And then while there aren't any other really specific pitchers I want to point out by name, although there were some others who didn't have very good starts, let's just go ahead and get ahead of this right now. Any starting pitcher who already has a start under their belt is one of the top 3 options in their team's rotation. That's why they were pitching opening weekend, and that's why they're on your fantasy team. They are still good pitchers, even if they had a bad start. I know some guys did not look good at all, like Michael King, a very short outing. And in fact, what I noticed, there were a lot of pitchers who, even if they were decently effective, didn't go very far. And so you're wondering, what is the deal? So again, King only 2 2/3 innings. Dylan Cease also for the Padres only went 5 innings, even though he was looking fairly good. Sandy Alcantara, by all accounts, bouncing back from Tommy John, looked good, but only went 4 2/3. There were concerns about him and his innings being possibly restricted early in the season before they inevitably trade him. But then even aces, guys who usually go deep into games, Tariq Skubal, Garrett Crochet, worried about his innings total. Logan Webb, only 5 innings apiece. What's the deal? The deal is it's the beginning of the season. These teams do not need to push their starters this early, and so don't worry about it. They will be fine. There's no reason to push them because every bullpen was fresh heading into the weekend, right? Everybody is healthy and fine, and these starting pitchers need to stay healthy. It is a marathon, not a sprint. And so I'm not going to worry too much about any of my starting pitchers unless they get absolutely lit up, and in which case, it still is just one game. Now, next week, we'll have a whole new set of players that we might be worried about for different reasons. Don't forget, besides weekly videos like this, we also do live streams every week, including a Sunday night stream where we talk about the best 2 start streamers for the coming week. If you want to catch all of that and maybe pick up some of those guys right now while you can, well, check it out.